What's going on, everybody? I'm recording from my computer instead of with my phone sitting on my bed. I think now that my mic is a little bit better. I think it's better. I mean, you guys have said it's better. I'm going to start recording from here a little bit more frequently, especially when I'm doing a lot of visuals and stuff, which I'm going to be doing today because what I asked last week was, what are all of your favorite? Um, the term to use is so up in the air, but oddball cards. What are your favorite oddball cards? And I want to read a lot of responses this week instead of just a handful, because I want to have a wide variety of sharing. So to hopefully expose a lot of people to a lot of these sets that other people are passionate about. And what I decided I wanted to do is not just read a bunch of them, but as I was talking about each one of them in the comments, I want to show cards of those so that you could see, because maybe you'll hear a set name and you go, I don't know if I know what that set is, but this way you can see it. So, and because of that, it just is a lot easier to put this together if I'm toggling through the presentation and showing the visuals through the computer. So, uh, I don't know why I felt the need to explain all of that, but here we are. Uh, this is Monday. It's National Week, and the National starts in 2 days. I fly out Wednesday morning, early Wednesday morning, and I have a full national preview video that will post tomorrow. So, last week, crazy week, right, guys? Lot going on last week in the hobby. If you haven't seen my video, my off-topic video with Darren, we had a great discussion, and Darren shared his opinions on some things. So if you haven't seen that, that posted on Friday, and then Saturday was the midlife community show and tell episode. So if you missed out on seeing that on Saturday, check that out. So again, tomorrow preview of the National. Wednesday, I will not post a Q&A, but I fully anticipate posting a day one of the National video, but it's going to be late. So just brace yourself for that if you're looking out for it. The show, it starts in the afternoon. It goes until 8 or 9. I can't remember, on Wednesday. And so I'm not going to go to bed until I get that video posted. That's probably going to be my routine while I'm at the National, is posting those videos late. I know a lot of guys will go back to the hotel or they'll take a break and they'll post, but I want to hang out. I want to be around everyone. I want to see the cards. I would rather do my editing while everyone's sleeping because I still want to post stuff, but I want to hang out with everyone. So that's what my plan is, but we'll see what happens. Please forgive me if I do something different than I'm suggesting. So again, tomorrow, National preview. Wednesday night, expect a day one. I'm hoping to do most of my buying on Wednesday and Thursday, but you never know. I'm not going to force anything. Thursday is the YouTube get together. But again, all of that is in my preview video that posts tomorrow. So again, my question for last week was, what is your favorite oddball set? But more specifically, why is it your favorite? So I got a ton of responses, like as many responses as I think that I've probably ever gotten on one of these Monday question videos. And so I'm going to share several, like at least a dozen. If yours isn't included, please don't feel bad about that. My original plan was to share all of them, and then I was like, I just can't. There's just so many. So I'm going to share, I don't know, 12 to 15 of them. and show the cards as we talk. So I'm going to try to do this. I'm starting to get old. My eyes are getting bad. I'm going to do my best to read these live for you on a pretty small font. So um, here we go. All right. This first one says, I'm one of those who started for a long time and stayed mainstream with cards, but somewhere in the 2010 era started finding and falling in love with some of the oddballs. My favorites are those stained with food, much like one of my favorite mainstreams, the Cracker Jacks. So, what I'm going to do is, as I'm talking about these, I'm going to put them up on the screen. So, again, we know those beautiful Cracker Jacks there. Some of the cons, those are the cons that he's referring to, which he'll talk about here in a second, and Wilson Franks have fantastic color and are just gorgeous looking cards. But my favorite might be the black and white 56 cons of Ted Klaczewski. That's the card in the middle. With not only a great front proclaiming cons, the wiener the world awaited, but the back has grease stains and 5 perfected aligned hot dogs that have been pressed against the card back packaging that you could have found in a 1956 grocery store. I think Tops and Fanatics is missing out by not partnering with Frito-Lay and making Cheetos cards. Imagine a Shohei or my favorite, Brian Buxton, card with an awesome orange Cheeto grease stain from being right in the middle of the package. No plastic protection. Now that could get me to buy some modern cards. Those are 3 beautiful cards. Next one says, Greg, another great topic, another great video, and a topic that really interests me. As far as next week's question, I really have loved collecting the 47 Bond bread set. The clipped corner versions that were actually placed in loaves of bread. This set is so underrated and still manageable financially, but it is definitely gaining traction. Get them while you can. So there is a Joe Dimaggio on the screen. There are so many reasons I love this set, but I especially love the regional stories and up and coming Jackie Robinson and the societal impact his arrival made. After all, it is his true rookie card, right? I think it is. I think it's his first card. If I mean, it's before the 48 and 49 cards, or just 49, depending on who you ask. Also, there are 48 total cards, including the 4 boxers. So it's a manageable collection, and it included about 35% Hall of Famers, including rookie cards of Jackie Robinson, Yogi Berra, Stan Musial, if you don't count the 46 Propaganda Montiel, Gil Hodges, and many more. Just a super cool set. Only downside, SGC is the only grading company that will slab it up as far as I know. It'll be interesting not to go down a rabbit hole, but there are some sets that only SGC will grade. So what if PSA absorbs SGC? Then what? That'll be interesting. All right. Great choice there. Next, the 1947 Tip Top bread. So it was just mentioned that a lot of those Bond breads are the first cards of some players, and a lot of people, I think that's probably true. But Yogi, I think Spawn, there are a few of those guys who we think of their rookie card as a 48, or even in some cases a 49 card, but they have 47 Tip Top bread cards, and they also have 47 Bond bread cards. I like black and white, so I could totally get on board with this. And what a great picture of my guy, Larry Yogi Berra. Next one, Greg, fun episode with many good points. As far as next week's question, let me ask you, which of your daughters is your favorite? My wife is my favorite, of course. How can you ask me which one of the oddball sets is my favorite when I collect so many? I collect. So I'm going to go ahead and show these as I mention them. So I collect the Red Heart set. There's the mantle. the 64 Tops Giants, the 62 Post cereal, the 58 Hires root beer. That's without the tab. There's also a test issue, but that is the 58 Hires root beer. I did it wrong. I missed the cons. I don't know how I did that, but there's the Wilson Franks, the Red Man, the 68 Tops Game, the 69 Decal Edge, exhibit postcards, the 1972 Icy Bear basketball, which are very, very affordable for some reason, and the McDonald's All-Star football cards, which is my favorite, all of them. Now, I showed the other day, my buddy sent me a couple of those McDonald's football cards of Roger Craig. So a lot of choices there. I can't argue. I mean, they're all awesome, right? They're all awesome. I really like those Red Man cards up there. Super affordable, super bright colors. They're all great choices. And I don't know how I forgot the cons, but thankfully we just saw cons. All right. Next, I like the 1969 and 70 Transigrams. Whenever I think of Transigram cards, I think of Sammy Thunder. He got into these and he was showing these a lot for a while. I will always think of Sammy Thunder when I think of the Transigram cards. They are quite affordable and you can often find lots on eBay for cheap. That they are definitely affordable. There is no doubt about that. So a lot of those stars from the late 60s can be found in that set. Next, Red Hearts are my favorite. So again, I got several that are going to be mentioned, and I'm going to show all of them. Red Hearts are my favorite. They are expensive. I love the star basketball cards and collect them. It didn't say basketball, actually. It just says I love the star cards and collect them. I meant to comment that I think one reason for the oddball cards coming to the forefront is the 101 Jordan rookie being anointed by many as his true rookie. I love big cards as well. Sportscaster cards are really nice, readable and cover many sports. I love tall boys. It didn't say what tall boys because there are a few different tall boys. There's tall boys football and basketball, but I showed a basketball one, the Kareem rookie, the hostess panels as well. Super low pop counts. The Hires root beer cards are also very unique. Interesting thing is you can buy some of the large cards in high grade cheaper than it costs to grade them due to the exorbitant price PSA and some others charge for the large slabs. I think that adds to the scarcity. $50 to $60 to grade a card makes you think twice for certain. Thanks again. I have a sportscaster Jack Nicklaus that's autographed, and it is a large slab, no doubt about it. It's like a giant iPad size. Next, my guy, John, 3D 80s kid. He says, before I answer the question, it begs a look at the term oddball first. According to the internet sources, the term was first used to describe an extra bonus ball given in a pinball game in the late 30s or in the 40s, as in it was a ball that was issued outside of the normal amount. So for me, the term oddball doesn't really apply to the pre-war era of cards, as there was no norm. There wasn't any continuous company or lineage that established anything as the mainstream. Once Bowman, and then more significantly Topps, were established and created a mainstream for cards, then the term oddball seems like it could now be readily applied to other less prominent issues. Interesting pinball conversation. My favorite choice, which you already mentioned in this video, is the Red Heart set. It has my favorite looking Mickey Mantle card. Someday I may choose my Mantle card choice, but for now, the cost of the card prevented it from being the choice for my collection. I know I'm breaking my above established criteria as this set predates Bowman by 1 year. but I love the 47 Bond bread cards. If this makes it on screen, it did. It made it on screen. Make sure you explain the difference. And I didn't even show the cards. Let me just, there's the red heart, which you already saw, and then the Bond bread. And this is the clip corners. And then you have the one with the non-clipped corners. Okay, so he says, if this makes it on screen, make sure you explain the difference of the beveled corners versus the square cut corners that aren't really Bond bread. As a Yankee fan, this set would be a particular interest of you, Greg, for you, Greg, as I feel this set has the most attractive plain days card that fits into a standard slab of Joe Dimaggio. John, you might be saying that because I know you have one, where an excellent IPO copy can be had for less than $1,000. It's a bit crazy too, since the graded population is only 75. So yeah, no, I agree with you. It is a beautiful card. It does have a low pop, and it is still very affordable. It's super interesting. I think some people don't really like black and white cards, maybe, at least when we're in an era now where a lot of the cards started having color. I don't know. It's interesting that they're not more expensive. Now, there are a few different variations of the Bond breads. I'm certainly not an expert, so I'm not the guy to do a full course on it. But if you look at the card in the middle, the one on the left of the Joe DiMaggio's, it does have clip corners, and that's because it was placed into the loaves of bread, and that way the corners didn't snag as they were sliding it in there. There are other varieties of sometimes referred to as Bond bread cards, sometimes exhibit cards that have the full corners. So when you see the clipped corners, like the card in the middle, the DiMaggio on the left, that is generally the accepted version of the true Bond bread card, is what John is referring to. How many different variations there are, all that kind of stuff, it gets a little bit complicated, so I'll stay in my lane. Next, Sammy Thunder. Sammy says, sets like the Stallmeyer, great choice. My guy Tony, Southern Collector 14, he just got a 53 Stallmeyer mantle. Looks just like that, but it's got the white instead of the yellow. Burke Ross, Hires Root Beer, Bazooka, Meadow Gold Dairy, and Home Run Derby are notoriously tough to find. Well said. Some were regional releases, while others are just scarce for a variety of reasons. That difficulty in tracking them down gives a real needle in the haystack appeal, something that makes collectors all the more eager to land one, even if it means paying a premium. I agree, Sammy. The hunt for a card is a lot of the fun. And Sammy has been adding a lot of very rare cards to his collection, and even selling some of his more easy to find, not that they're easy to find, but readily available cards when some of these other cards pop up, because he knows the chances of finding that needle in the haystack again are low. And so the hunt is it's a lot of fun. It's one of the things I've enjoyed about doing my pirate card set is the population's so low, it's tough to put together a set or put them all together. Now, I will need to kind of point out in the middle there, I just chose a random year of bazooka. There are several years of bazookas. Um, it's different shapes, different sizes. There's a lot of different. Sometimes you'll see them in panels, but anyway. So that's just I think that's a 62 Clemente bazooka on the screen. All right, next. Dave Bauer, my buddy Dave, you'll remember right around the holidays, the end of the year last year, I had Dave on. We had a long conversation. He has an incredible collection. Dave said, while my favorite oddball cards are the Dandy, first time we've heard the Dandy mentioned today, and the Red Heart Mickey Mantles, my favorite set is an obscure set called the 1914 Boston Garter set. It consists of 12 oversized cards of a mixture of Hall of Famers such as Joe Jackson and Ty Cobb, mixed in with some common players. I only have one common player in my collection, but I love looking at that card. And it is a beautiful card there on the right of the screen. Um, I definitely understand the appeal, um, Dave. And you have a gorgeous version of those other two cards too. So, all right, let's go ahead and keep moving. We've got this next one. It says, "This is tough. I'm going to have to give you more than one. First is the 1932 Walker's Cleaners Green Bay Packers. 27 total cards are a bunch of players in the Packers Hall of Fame, 5 NFL Hall of Famers. It's a great set. The 1982 Red Lobster Chicago Cubs has Ryan Sandberg's first card in a Cubs uniform. Awesome set. Finley, something completely different. The 1950 Drake's TV baseball series. I really don't know why, but this is the only oddball set that I have plans on completing. There are no Cubs or rookie cards. 9 of the 36 cards are Hall of Famers. They're not beautiful cards. The Warren Spawn, which is on the screen, is one of my favorite cards of the 50s. I think the photography is ridiculous. That being said, I love this set. The Nolan Ryan 82 Red Lobster set is one that is new to me. So I'm pretty sure all of the other sets at this point I have seen before. I don't think I've ever seen that Red Lobster set. Yours truly was actually a server at Red Lobster for a few months at one point in his life. All right, next, love me some vintage oddball talk. Great video. My favorite has to be the Redman Tobacco All-Star set from the early 50s. My story of why I like these goes back to my childhood. When I was 12 years old in 1978, I acquired 7 shoeboxes of vintage cards from an elderly lady in the neighborhood. She knew I liked collecting cards, so she offered them to me before putting them in the trash. I was really excited to get them home and search through this collection to see what I had. It was mostly tops from 52 to 66, but there was a stack of 54 Redman tobacco cards that really caught my attention. The color was stunning and I loved the artwork. The bios were also very fun for me to read and learn from. The older I got, the more I learned about this set and how affordable they are to collect. There are several different variations, as players were sometimes traded mid season, so the cards were altered with appropriate logos. The tabs at the bottom could be cut off and sent to Redman in exchange for a baseball cap of the team of your choice. 50 tabs equals 1 hat. So they are commonly found with the tabs cut off. My focus has been on high end versions of the cards with tabs. I was finally able to complete the entire 54 set during the pandemic, all in SGC holders. And it remains one of my favorite vintage oddball sets. Love that story for sure. There's a beautiful Yogi. If you go from the 52, 53, and 54 Yogis, same image, different background colors. It's really cool. I believe my buddy Adam, Vintage Sanctuary, has those 3, which he has shown the rainbow of before. Darren, my boy, Darren, off topic again. Check out the video from Friday where Darren vents a little bit. Great video, bud. I agree with all of those reasons for prices going up: increased demand, lower supply, and inelasticity. For next week's question, my favorite vintage oddball release is the 1903 Bryce Williams set. I like it for a lot of reasons, but the 2 that stand out the most to me are the players, for the most part, are wearing formal wear. I find that interesting since back in 1903, ball players weren't considered high society, and you rarely ever see them dressed like that. It also has some monster early cards of greats such as Christy Mathewson, Honus Wagner, Ed Delahunty, Cy Young, Willie Keeler, Nap Lajoie, and Eddie Plank. And those are very expensive cards and very low pop cards. And that is a gorgeous Cy Young. Probably recognize that picture from one of his other cards. Um, I definitely understand the appeal there, Darren. And I unfortunately don't think I'll ever have one in my collection because they are at the deeper end of the swimming pool than I tend to be with my floaties. All right, next, Andrew. My guy Andrew's back. Great video and question, Greg. I like oddball cards, food regional issues. The dandies and the red hearts are intriguing options. However, not so budget friendly. It very well could be due to the social media influence. I mean, it makes sense seeing some of your friends and people you like buy those kind of cards. It could pique yours and others' interests and curiosity. It is also possible some collectors just want to try a new quest or already have all the cards in their Topps run. I don't fall into that category at the moment, but there are others who do. But as far as my personal favorites, I do like food issues such as Post and Kellogg's. But honestly, Greg, my favorite just might be the Kmart 1982 set. My dad bought me those when I was in starting elementary school, and those cards really jump started my own collecting and learning about all-time great players as well. Not the most rare or expensive out there, but it's the most nostalgic. I totally get it. And the first time we've seen the Kellogg's on there, the Kellogg's cards are awesome. I mean, those are some great choices. Uh, I definitely get it, and nostalgia plays a big role in this for I think for everyone. Next, my favorite oddball release are the turkey red cards. Why? The artwork on them is beautiful and a bigger than normal image of the players. These are large cards. Again, they're bigger than those sportscaster cards that I mentioned earlier. So these slabs would be bigger than a big iPad. Um, but it is beautiful artwork. You can see there on that Ty Cobb, the sunset in the background, the stadium and the outfield. They are really, really attractive cards. They're pretty expensive, and because they're large, they're very hard to find in good condition. The one on the screen there has a couple of pinholes. And so if that's your thing, that card would be perfect, right? Even if you were a Mets fan, that would be something you might enjoy. Next, my guy Dean. Dean says, as a kid, I loved the Quaker Oats, Burger King, and Drake's cards. But I'll admit, while seeing them here and there, I eventually learned a ton about the vintage Audis from all of the YouTube goats. Johnston's, Hires, Dandies, and Star Decals, etc., which I've been loving hunting down the last 3 years. Now, the Johnston Cookies card there in the center, there are a couple of years of those, and that one is a narrower, taller card. The other year is a more standardized set. But yeah, they're very, very attractive cards. And then the first time we've seen the Star Decals over on the right there, and was it Sammy that bought one of those at Strongsville? I think it was. A couple of people bought some Star Decals at the Strongsville show this year. So next, Mike Petty. Mike Petty says it's no secret that over the past few years I've fallen in love with the oddball. Maybe it's because I have no vacancy in my 1950 to 75 player runs. I specifically like the 64 stand-ups, the 58 hires without the tab, but my favorite hands down is the 59 home run derbies. There are only 20 cards in the set and 10 are Hall of Famers. There are only between 35 and 50 cards graded across SGC and PSA for each player, so they are rare and in high demand. The photos used are not only stunning, but they are mesmerizing. I used to love the reprints in the 80s and enjoyed watching the show in reruns on ESPN. Knowing it was filmed close to me at Wrigley in LA made it all the more special. It was also sponsored by AMC. My first car was a 71 AMC Javelin 401 SST. My dad put a 50-pound bag of cement in the back to keep the rear end down. It had so much power. It remained in the family into the early 90s, and then I had to get rid of it. You rarely see these cars on the road anymore. I would love to have a resto mod, but a sixth car isn't in the stars for me right now, and they rarely, if ever, come up for auction. Just like the Mickey Mantle from that set. Again, great choices. First time we've seen the 64 top stand-ups. And then if memory serves me correctly, in a response to a comment below, Petty also shouted out the Kellogg's cards and how they're hard to find, not cracked. So I think he mentioned that too. Mookie Chilson says, my favorite oddball card is a mouthful. I'm sorry. It's the 1962 JCM 57B Maria, I don't know, greenback Menko card of Larry Doby. Larry Doby and Don Newcomb were the first two former major leaguers to play professional baseball in Japan with the NBP. There are only a handful of these cards on planet Earth, and I was so lucky to stumble into one last year. I remember Mookie buying this card, and it is, it has to be the rarest Larry Doby card. Has to be. There are very, very few. Mookie bought his raw, if I'm not mistaken. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Mookie sent it in and it came back an SGC 1.5, I think, which is fantastic. A very, very rare card. So congrats to Mook. That is not Mookie's on the screen. My guy, Tony, look at a bunch of my buddies are chiming in on this one. Tony, Southern Collector 14 says, great follow-up video. My favorite oddball set would be the 1916 M1014 and M1015 sets. Also, the 1917 Collins McCarthy Boston store sets. They have amazing images of the players, have different backs to add interest, and other cool details. If those are considered oddball enough, I would choose the Red Heart set, which we've seen. Amazing colors and images on those cards. I love the M101 4 and 5 cards. That's the one on the left of your screen. I have a few. My best one would be my Casey Stengel. I guess you could consider it one of Stengel's rookie cards. He has one or two cards that are very regional release cards that would be earlier. But I love the looks of those cards, variety of backs on them. And that Joe Jackson on the screen is just, it's an amazing card. That's a six-figure card on the left of your screen in a 7, as is the Collins McCarthy Babe Ruth on the right in a 5. So that's a expensive screen right there. So that leaves us to my question for next week. Now, I know some people get tired of talking about grading. I don't, quite frankly. And the beauty of having your own channel is you get to decide what topics are discussed. I've really been listening to what people have been saying about Peter leaving SGC, and now what happens now? What happens next? And it's really, really interesting that this is all happening right before the National. And I'm curious, with the most recent SGC news, are you buying, selling, or holding cards in SGC slabs? Now, I know a lot of people would say, who cares? It's the plastic. The card is no different. Why would it affect whether you would buy it? Well, there are some people who have speculated and are speculating that if SGC were to continue its slow demise and maybe go away, that could potentially harm the values of cards that are already in SGC slabs. I see both sides of that. Part of me says I've got some friends in the community who have reached out to me and said, "I'm concerned, Greg. I've got a lot of cards in SGC slabs, and if SGC goes away, which we don't know if it will, first off, um, we don't know if it will, but if it goes away, what does that do to the value of SGC slabs?" And my immediate reaction is, well, when GAI went away, that was a scandal. So it's not surprising that GAI slabs might have some suspicion around them. SGC wouldn't be leaving because of a scandal. When you look at some of the other companies that were out there and the SCD slabs, for example, they were never really mainstreamed. They were always a fringe grading company. So those are different. So a big part of me is thinking, well, who cares? The card didn't uh nothing changed with the card. It's the same card. The company that graded them was a mainstream company when it happened. So why would the demand change for, SGC slab cards? But then I also understand the opposite view, which is if a card company doesn't exist, then it's hard to get too fired up about buying a card in their slab. Remember the car company Saturn? They don't exist anymore. At least I don't think they exist. If they exist, I'm sorry, Saturn, but I don't think they exist. So buying a used Saturn when Saturn is gone is not like a high demand car. I would think when they dissolved, and again, I think they dissolved, that their used cars aren't in as high a demand as they were when they were still manufacturing cars. So I do understand how people coming into the hobby goes, who are the graders? Oh, SGC doesn't exist anymore. Again, I'm not saying they don't exist, but if that were to happen, that they'd go, well, why would I want a card in this slab? I can't even get my other cards to match it. So I'm curious. I'm really, really curious for this week at the National. Are people going to be at all leery of SGC slabbed cards? And I'm not saying that people should be. I'm not saying that at all. I my personal stance at the moment is I have a lot of cards. My most valuable card in my collection is in an SGC slab. I would say 3 or 4 of my top 5 cards are in SGC slabs. And I haven't really considered crossing them at this point. But maybe I should, cuz I'm hearing other people say that. And so I guess what I want to do is I'm just asking for a temperature check purposes. Where's everybody at? There have been new developments with SGC. Does it worry you as you head into the National this week? Does it worry you? Are you if there were 2 cards on the table, are you leaning now more towards PSA than you were towards SGC? Or is it or are you leaning more towards SGC for whatever reason? Or is it just completely a non-issue? I've had a lot of people contact me and message me and say, "Greg, are you going to keep sending in submissions to SGC? With everything that's happening, are you going to keep submitting cards there?" And where I'm at this very moment, as things stand at late July of 2025, I have a stack of cards on that shelf right there. That, in fact, I think you can even see some of them right there. That I'm planning on sending to SGC to be graded when I come back from the national. And I know people are like, why don't you do it while you're there? I don't want to spend any. I don't want to spend any of my card money on grading right now. I'm not bringing any cards to drop off because I want to spend all my money on cards. And then when I come home, then I'm going to send some stuff in. Is that dumb? Probably, but whatever. I I'm still sending cards into SGC, and I don't think that the sky is falling, but maybe I should. So that's the question. Again, with the most recent news with SGC, are you buying, selling, or holding your cards in SGC slabs? But not just your cards that you have, the cards that you're looking to buy. Are you still at the exact same place that you were 2 months ago with SGC or PSA or whatever slab? Or again, you don't care. And any answer is fine. I just want to see where everybody's at right now. And things could change, things will change. And then your opinions might change. But where we are right now, where do you stand at the moment? That's my question for this coming week. That will be my first video post national, I think, unless I do a national wrap up episode. But again, this is going to be a fun week. Videos will be coming at you fast and furious. I hope you keep an eye out for some of mine because I am very excited to share my experience with all of you.